Hi, my name is Nina Kharoufeh, and I would put hummus in my immigrant jam because I'm a basic bitch.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. We're finally back in New York City. It's another beautiful day at Immigrant Jam headquarters. We are back. We are back. We are back. It's been amazing. Thank you for listening to all of our LA episodes. But now we're in New York with the amazing Nina Kharoufeh. Did I say that right?
Kharoufeh.
No. Kharoufeh.
Yes.
Nina is a comedian. Nina has written a children's book called I'm a Princess Too. She's working on the second one. We're going to find out more about that. Nina is a motherfucking amateur boxer. So don't give her shit because she'll knock you out, okay?
I'll try.
I love her. We've been on shows together here in New York, and we only met maybe like 6 months ago, but I instantly fell in love, and now she's here at Immigrant Jam. Welcome, welcome, welcome,
Thank
Nina.
you. Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I was just telling my friends that I met you at that first show, and I just thought you were so hilarious. I'm literally obsessed with this woman. I think you hosted, you hosted the first one too, and you were just outrageous, and I loved it.
Yeah, same. It's funny because, sometimes you just, it's a vibe thing too, right? You're like, oh yeah, I like that person's vibe. And then we had you on. I didn't know you at all. I didn't know anything about you. My co-host Chase DeRusso was like, oh, we got to have Nina on. I was like, great, let's do it. And then you went up. You were so funny. It was like an odd room a little bit.
Yeah, it was.
It was like a little bit weird of a room. But
it was
you
like
were
a Wednesday
so funny.
night.
Yeah, Tuesday night.
Even worse.
Yeah, exactly. Even worse. But you, Nina, you were born in New Jersey. Yeah, which is not your fault.
No, it's not, and I apologize. I'm so ashamed of being born in Jersey. I tell people I was born in the West Bank.
But your parents are both from...
My parents are Palestinian.
They're both Palestinian.
They got married there, and then they moved to America, and then had me and my siblings. But I go back and forth.
Oh, so you go back and forth a lot?
I'm actually going in August. I'm excited.
So was that important to them to have you grow up steeped in the culture and having a connection to their home country and everything?
Yeah, for sure. I went to public school and stuff, but I didn't know anything other than Arab culture. So as I got older and made American friends and Hispanic friends, and they were so different than I was, I didn't know how to react. Even though I was born and raised in America, but I only hung out with my cousins. I only hung out with my Arab friends. So growing up was oh shit. They're so different than us.
And your parents moved here. Obviously people move to America for a better life. Yeah. Did they move here to study? Did they move just to get out? Was that a big dream of theirs?
My dad moved here for money.
Okay.
He wanted to make money, and America is kind of the place to go.
Used to be.
Yeah, used to be before I was born. We were born in the wrong generation. My dad came here, just started driving trucks and made a lot of money, sent it back home, built a house back there. He was planning on going back, but just never did. So now we have a nice big house there that's collecting dust.
Okay, wow. So his plan was just to come for a few years and make some money, go back?
I guess, because why else would he have built that house?
Right.
But then you kind of just come to America and you kind of just stay.
Yeah, that's same with my family. We were supposed to come for a year. I think 6 months in the beginning. They were like, let's just try it out. And then they never left. Yeah. Did they speak English when they came here?
No. My parents both speak English now. They speak English, Spanish, and Arabic.
Wow.
Because my mom went to school in Venezuela.
What?
Before she moved back to Palestine to marry my dad. Because it was kind of a lot of chaos going on, wars, and so her parents were we're going to go to Venezuela for a little while. She ended up going to high school there, and I think middle school too, so she picked up Spanish. Then my dad just picked it up, and then now they speak English, Spanish, and Arabic.
Wow, that's crazy.
I never picked up the Spanish, unfortunately.
So she was a teenager when they moved to Venezuela?
She was young.
Wow.
So she kind of grew up there and then went back to Palestine and then met my dad.
Did you grow up with Venezuelan culture as well? No, she didn't continue.
No, I think my mom just became an Arab after marrying my dad. She's like, I'm just going to go back to being an Arab. Because her siblings will tell me, my aunts and uncles, oh, when your mom was younger and we were in Venezuela, we used to do this and that. And I'm like, Mom, you're a thought. And then she just met my dad, and she like turned it off, and she's like, I'm an Arab again.
Okay, well, why not? I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's kind of I always think it's so funny, like when you grow up cross culturally, right? Like what you choose, or what kind of chooses you, or how you kind of end up forming your identity. A lot of people, I think, that grow up cross culturally end up saying like, "Oh, I'm a citizen of the world. I don't identify strongly with anything." But it seems like, at least for you, it seems like you identify with your parents' culture and the place that they come from. You wear a hijab. Yeah. Right?
I mean, I definitely picked up a lot of the Arab culture, and it stuck with me like throughout my lifetime, even though I always grew up, like I was always in America. But I definitely have like a little American in me. A lot of American in me, actually. But I have like little traces of Arab.
What do you think makes you American?
Culturally?
Yeah.
I'm kind of rude sometimes. Like, I'm kind of like, I'm like a New Yorker, like I don't have patience.
Yeah.
I'm very.
It's true that like, if I can generalize from what I have, experienced, the Arab culture is like a very, very kind, friendly, polite,
very relaxed,
and
I'm not relaxed,
and generous.
At all.
It's so much about like
being hospitable for sure.
Yes,
but it's also a very relaxed. Like it's relaxed in the Middle East. Like everyone's just like chill. Like, oh, I'll get to it when I get to it. Like I remember, I spent a couple weeks in Morocco. I was filming something. I just got back actually, and we would go to a restaurant. I'm like, can I get more ketchup? And they were like, yeah. And then like, and I'm like, I'm not gonna eat my fries until and he brought it like 20 minutes later, and I'm like, give me the ketchup, man. Like just in America,
he's like, we are in the desert.
It would like they would have been on it, but they're just very like, yeah, no problem. And I'm like, what do you?
Yeah.
Get me the ketchup, dude.
Yeah, that is very American. Sorry, I have to. That is very American. The like service-minded.
Yes.
Even in Germany, it's not like that. Like I've had arguments with like customer service reps in Germany on the phone about customer service, and I'll never forget this one woman. She was like, I was like, the bank ate, like the ATM machine ate my ATM card.
Oh, wow.
On a Friday at like 2, and the bank was closed for the weekend because they close at like 1 p.m. on Fridays.
Because they don't have an overworked life like us.
Yes. So I called and I was like, what the fuck? What am I supposed to do? She's like, the banks are closed until Monday. And I'm like, but what am I supposed to, who stops working on a Friday at 1 p.m.? And she goes, that's a socio-political question. I'm not prepared to argue with you.
Poor woman.
I know. I was like, but I'm American.
Yeah, we're very spoiled in terms of like, we want what we want in a timely fashion, and like everyone else is, and that's why we're so stressed, and that's why suicide rates are the highest in America, like, because no one else is crazy like us. So going back home, I'm like, wow, everyone's so chill and nice, and I'm just like.
So I heard you say on another interview that you did that you chose for yourself to wear the hijab when you were in high school. Is that right?
Middle school.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had moved towns, even though it was like small towns and it was not that far. I was starting a new school. So like, you know what? Let me see what it's like. I'm like, I know I want to wear it. I don't know when, but I don't want to get to know everybody in the community, like, not having it on, and then one day wear it on, and it's going to be such a shock, and everyone's going to be like, oh my God. I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. So I'm like, let me just do a trial. Because I'm like, I'd rather just like wear it for a little while, and if I don't like it, I'll just. So I wore it the first day of school. That was the only time I've ever been bullied, ever in my life. Like in school, some kid was like, oh, look, a suicide bomber.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck you.
How uncreative.
Yeah, and he ended up moving on my parents' block years later. Now he's my parents' neighbor, and I always give him the death stare. Like, I didn't forget what you said to me in literally like 15 years ago.
You should have just left like empty packages in front of his door.
I should go back and troll him.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I kind of just felt it didn't like bother me. And then before I knew it, the whole school year had passed. I'm like, oh fuck, I guess I'm doing it now. Like.
But so when you got bullied by that kid, did that, because like we're joking about it, but that's kind of sad too. And it's like sad to be put in those boxes and stuff.
I think now that I'm older and I look back, I'm more upset now than I was when it happened, which I'm happy about. Because when I was younger, I didn't really understand like how mean people were.
Right.
And also I grew up in a town that was very diverse. So there was everything in my school. So I think white people were like the minority in my school. Like there was like maybe 30 Muslim kids just in my class, like in my level of high school. So I didn't really know.
Right.
And then when I got older and I started to like realize like people that are racist, and I was like, oh wow, oh that's terrible. So I always say that I'm very lucky that I grew up in a school that was great.
Yeah.
Like there was like a special needs grade, and everyone was so nice to them, and like it was just I had a great high school experience.
And is that what got you also interested in trying out the hijab, seeing other girls wear it in school?
Because so many girls wore it in my town.
Because I'm guessing that in your family they didn't ask you to wear it.
No, my
it was
dad
something
told me
that you
not
decided.
to.
Really? Why?
My dad still tells me to take it off.
Why?
Because he's he's not religious at all.
Interesting.
He thinks it's silly.
That's so interesting.
He also was like, it's hot outside. Just don't. I'm like, Dad, it doesn't work that way.
So he's not religious. So you
my
found
dad is
that
not
for
religious.
yourself?
Yeah. My mom kind of like told us about it growing up, but she never really like instilled it in us. My parents are more cultural than religious.
Yep.
So it was more about like no boys, which is also religious, but it's also very cultural. So
of course.
It was like, don't be rude and don't be too loud. And, it was more like that than
of course.
God is great and stuff like that. It was very much like, what are the neighbors going to think?
But you're religious now. You would say you're the most religious in your family?
I'm definitely religious. I'm not a good Muslim. I am Muslim. I try to be.
I don't know how it is in the Muslim religion, but I'm Jewish, but also more culturally than I didn't grow up religiously at all. And I have a friend who is very religious. And I always say, oh, I'm a really bad Jew. And he explained to me that that's not a thing in the Jewish religion. There's no such thing as a bad Jew.
You're either Jewish or you're not.
Right, exactly.
Which is the same thing, but also I get a lot of judgments, even from outside of my community, where people will be like, oh, Nina's a fake Muslim. And I'm like, you can't be a fake Muslim. So they're basically saying like, unless you're top tier, perfect, no sinning whatsoever, which is never the thing ever where humans were imperfect, you're somehow fake. But it's like when a Christian doesn't follow something or something, they're not a fake Christian. They're sinning or they're not the best. And it's like, but when Muslims, I feel like Muslims and Jews are held to such a higher standard that if we do anything wrong, you're fake. And it's like, I'm not fake, I'm just not perfect.
Right.
Doesn't mean I don't believe in my religion because I cursed or I went on a date or I did something I'm not supposed to.
Right. And what I think is so interesting and kind of amazing about your story is that you chose it for yourself. And I always think, I didn't grow up religiously, but I always, from where I stand, feel sorry for the kids that it was imposed on and who didn't get the chance to choose that for themselves, And I think religion can be something really cool if you choose it for yourself and you choose what you need from it in a way. And it seems like that's what you're doing, right? Like it's a way to live your life and you're not letting other people define what that means.
Because I mean, it's tough because even within my own community, it's like so like
judgmental.
Yeah,
I bet. Yeah.
And I get judged, and it's like even outside of my community, there's judgments. Like I was hanging out at a bar after like my comedy show, and I was just like hanging out, waiting for my friend to finish her set, and then some guy came up to me and he was like, "Oh, you shouldn't be in here. Like I know that's against your religion. Like," and I'm like,
what?
Get out of my face. What are you? I was like, sir, let's not have a bar fight.
I love it. That's
let's
great.
not. I don't know if he was trying to flirt or he was trying to be funny, but it's like, why are you thinking about what a stranger, where a stranger should or shouldn't be?
Sir, I think you want to keep your testicles on your body tonight, don't you?
Because I will go to prison for murder. So please.
So, but that like takes a lot of balls. Where do you think that comes from? That you're brave enough to be like, fuck it, I'm going to wear a hijab. Although my parents aren't religious and although nobody's telling me to do this and although I'm going to get made fun of or get shit for it from other people, I'm going to be a comedian and defy the odds of, we're having an Amazon Prime commercial happening. Not sponsored by Amazon Prime, you fuckers. Yeah, exactly. But so this courage that it takes to be yourself or experiment with yourself at least, And
I think that's
where's
also
that from?
I don't know. I grew up in a house where like we were very like independent. We were very like strong. My siblings all have very strong personalities. My sister's a cop.
Wow. In New York?
No, in Jersey.
Oh shit.
Fuck the police. No, I'm just kidding. So we always just vibed, and we never cared what anyone said. I think that's also what made me like a good comedian, because I also didn't care what it just
right.
Some people like me, some people don't, and I can't please everybody, and I'm just living for myself. I don't.
Right.
Because I get and then it's like, then you have like the people within our industry that like I've heard say like, oh, Nina only wears it to stand out. And Nina only wears it because it makes her different as a comic. And I'm like, dude, I wore it when I was like 13. You think I wore it when I was 13? I'm like, you know what? In 15 years, I'm going to be a comedian. And that time and age, it's going to be cool to be different. So I'm going to do this now. And like... And it's like, what?
But also that's like it's like that's such a weird thing to do, to stand out.
Yeah.
That would
it's
be like such
dyeing
a weird
your hair
choice.
Or something, or like.
Yeah. I mean, because it's like, so they think that you take it off and you're like, I hate Muslims. I'm not Muslim.
I don't know. Like,
I'm winning.
I've had people like really tell me like, so why do you really wear it? And I'm like, what? And like, you don't want, like, and I'm like, wait, what? And then they get like really flustered, because I'm like, what do you mean? Because I'll drill them on the question. I'm like, no, like, speak up. What do you mean by that question?
What are you trying to say? Right.
And they just start like stuttering, like, no, I didn't mean anything. And I'm like, okay, let's move along, because I'm going to backhand you.
But do you think that that has to do with, because I think that, you know, your parents coming here, not speaking English, your mom has had the experience of going to even another country where she didn't speak the language as a teenager, and then coming here and, you know, working their way up and not knowing anybody here. You know, is that like inherited? Like, you know how people say traumas are inherited?
Yeah.
I think like those types of strengths are possibly inherited too, right?
Yeah.
Like people that come to a place and fight like that. And then a lot of the times the children of these immigrants are like these badasses.
Yeah.
Like,
I think my dad was the black sheep of his family, although I don't think he ever did anything that was worthy of getting that title. I think his parents just wanted a very specific traditional life for him, and he was like not about it, because he got married, he came to America, moved around, didn't work with the family and stuff like that. So my dad was kind of the first one to like veer off from the family, and like he didn't listen to his parents. So I think that's probably inherited, because now I don't listen to my parents.
But you have a good relationship with them.
Yeah, definitely. Right. My dad's definitely my best friend.
So he respects the fact that you chose to be more religious.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't care,
right?
But he'll just be like, you don't have to, like, and I'm like, no, I know.
It would be funny if like he doesn't talk to you because you're like not the other way around. Yeah, my dad doesn't talk to me because I'm too religious for him.
Yeah, no. And then I remember even when like my sister was in high school, she always wanted to be a cop. And my dad told her like, oh, you should take it off because you're never going to get hired, or it's going to be difficult for you.
So she wears a hijab as well. And she wears it on duty?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was like I think they had to like find a way to like wear it so it's not like a safety issue.
Right, exactly.
Because anything like hanging, like that's,
right, yeah.
So I understand that it's not like an anti-Muslim thing, it's just like a safety thing, but they figured out a way where she could like wear it and it's not like interfering with anything.
But that must be scary. Isn't that scary, to having a sister who's a cop?
She's a cop in a very rich white town. Ain't nothing happening to her.
All right, great. All right, good.
She's fine.
She's like, Karen, stop complaining about the latte.
People call the cops because there was a dog in the car and they were scared for it, even though the AC in the car was on. And the owner went to Trader Joe's to like get something real fast. Like that's the cop call.
Trader Joe's?
Yeah.
What? Don't they have a fucking, what are their supermarkets? Williams Sonoma?
You know what someone called the cops for a couple months ago? This woman called the cops. She was like, my car got stolen and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And my sister was like, it's very hard to steal push to start cars because you can't like hot wire them. So, and it was like a brand new Mercedes. My sister was like, she's like, maybe someone borrowed it, didn't give it back, a kid, a friend. She was like, there's no way someone stole it. But she was like, you know what, we're just going to like run the plates and all the system. What had happened was she put the down payment for the Mercedes, never made any of the payments because she didn't think she had to. And they repoed the car.
What?
And she was like, well, I paid for it when I was there. She didn't know that she had to make continuous payments.
That's so funny.
And that's how, those are the calls my sister has to deal with.
That's what she has to deal with? That's
like,
pretty
I'll call her, she's like, I'm busy. Lady's claiming someone stole her fucking car. She didn't make the payments. But
oh my
she hangs
God.
up.
Wow.
It's like,
so
tax dollars hard at work.
So you're also an amateur boxer.
Yeah, I'm prepping for my first fight.
What? How did that happen? What is that? Does that go back to the kid telling you you're a suicide bomber?
No, and I actually have a whole bit about this. I broke my foot twice before COVID, like back to back.
Okay.
So I was like quarantining before there was quarantine, and I was wearing leggings before it was like everyone's in leggings. I was doing that for like a year before because I had a cast on.
Yeah.
So I had gained so much weight, and like I didn't really notice until like I got the cast taken off, and like none of my clothes fit me anymore, and I was like. So I wanted to like lose the weight, and all the gyms were closed because of COVID.
Right.
Except this one little place in my town. They were opening, but you had to like buy a trainer package, and I was like, this is such like a ripoff, but whatever, I'm gonna do it. And it ended up being like a fight club kind of place. So I just started like training, like just for fun,
right,
as a hobby. And then I just started sparring, and they were like, you should compete. And I was like, okay. And then it just kind of snowballed. Wow. But I always say that like I wish I got like really bullied, because then I could be like bullied Muslim girl becomes pro boxer.
Right.
It's just like...
It's like the Muhammad Ali story because of his bike,
comedian
right?
got fat and then became a boxer. Like, that's literally what the story is. I'm just, damn, I wish I got bullied more. Because there's no sentiment behind me being... I wish there was. I should start making that up.
I love it. That's so funny.
I'm like, I just really got fat, and then I have an ego problem, so I started boxing. I'm like, I'm going pro. It's the best, worst decision I've ever made.
Why worst? I understand.
Because I'm not that good.
Really?
I mean, I'm training... But it's definitely a rough
But it's a
sport.
mental thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it like 80% of it is a mental thing?
Yeah, it's also just being in shape and ring.
Right,
it's a lot. And I was never athletic growing up. I did drama club in high school. I did drama club in college. I never had a gym becoming like a boxing athlete like overnight, it was like a lot on my body.
Wow. So is that how you approach most things though? Is that how you approach comedy too? You're
Very
like,
extreme.
I'm doing it and I'm putting everything into it. I don't care if this is like something, that I have some sort of connection to or not.
Everything is like extremes with me, which is a good and a bad thing.
Right.
Because I'm like, I'm not going to half-ass anything. I'm not going to do anything just to do it. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to try to be the best. And if not, I'm going to land somewhere in the middle, which is also fine.
That's the case with so many immigrant kids too, like first generation.
We have to prove ourselves because everyone says that what we're doing is stupid.
Right.
So it's like, we're going to show you that it's not stupid, and we're going to like do all this. Because when I first started doing comedy, even my aunts were like, why? That's silly. And then it's like, I started going on tour, and then I opened for Tiffany Haddish, and now I'm hanging out with Dave Chappelle, and they're all like, oh, okay. Yeah. We see you. And I'm like, suck my dick. Like, everyone told me that I was like stupid now. Like, I just hosted a show in Morocco, and then everyone's like, oh, Nina's killing it. And I'm like, yeah, where was this energy when I first started? And you all were like shitting on me, telling me to like go to medical school.
Is that what they wanted?
Yeah, they're like, you should just be something nice, be a nurse.
Did you go to college?
Yeah, I did, but I went to art school, so.
Okay.
And everyone was just like, that's so silly, you're never gonna find a job, you're never gonna make money, you're putting yourself in like a bad situation. And then I started like doing it, and everyone was like, oh, okay, never mind.
So you went to art school, and did you know back then that you wanted to do comedy, or?
No.
You thought you wanted to act or something like that?
I knew I never wanted a normal like office gig kind of thing, because I was like, I will just kill myself. I can't do it. So I went to film school first. I didn't like it, transferred, then I went to college at the Arts at Montclair, and then I got a degree in media. I wanted to be a producer. So then I started being a producer at Sirius XM. Yeah, I started freelancing at Fox. I started to freelance for Joanne Reed, and started doing a lot of stuff like that. And then by default, I just started hanging out with a lot of comedians because I was at XM, and where I sat was where like the comedy department sat. So I became friends with Godfrey. So I had a lot of comedy friends, and then I was like, I should like try it. It seems like a lot of fun. So I did like an open mic. Terrible.
Of course.
And then I did the comedy classes at Laughing Buddha. And then it just kind of went uphill from there.
And then you loved it?
Yeah. And then I was like, this is a lot of fun. And then I just started getting up.
And the Fox News, you just threw that in there real quick. But I know you also have a bit about that. You interned at Fox News,
I
right?
freelanced there for
freelanced
2 years.
there, right.
Editing, yeah.
Were you trying to like infiltrate or
no?
What was the thinking behind going to Fox News of all places?
I wanted to make some extra cash. I did have a salary at XM, but radio is like the least paying job in the city. And I was like, I have a lot of free time because my shift at XM wasn't bad. And I was like, I went on like Indeed and I applied to a bunch of like freelance like editing gigs. And one of them was Fox. I'm like, whatever, I'm just gonna do it. And I had a friend who worked there. And then a couple months later, like I forgot, because when you mass apply, I got an email that was like, Fox.
I'm like, I've never mass applied.
People who get like office gigs mass apply on Indeed. And then I just got an email and they were like, hey, do you want to interview for this gig? It's X amount. And I was like, oh shit, that's pretty nice. So I went in for the interview and I had to take like a test and I passed it. And I got hired. And I was like, oh, this is nice.
And you didn't even remember that it was Fox News.
I mean, I applied for so many jobs. Right. I'm sure a couple of them were Fox. I didn't think I would get a call back or like an interview or whatever. And also my name is peculiar. Maybe they didn't think it was. I don't know. But everyone there was really nice.
So you liked working there?
Yeah, I really did.
And that was must have been pre-Trump, right?
It was during.
It was during Trump?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Wow.
I still have a couple shifts.
Did you have to pray to Trump every day?
No.
Did you have to bow to a photo of Trump?
Even the producers are like super liberal. They're like, this is bullshit. Everyone's there for the money. Because Fox pays well. Fox treats their employees well. Contrary to popular belief. It's a company. It's a company just like any other company.
Right.
I'm sure there's a lot of Republicans who work at CNN, but they got the gig. There's only X amount of stations to really choose from.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. I mean, yeah, I guess. I think it would be hard to be truly like to have like a leadership position there and then not believe in what they're doing.
There's
right?
a lot
but
of
maybe
that.
not. Maybe I've never been offered that kind of money in my life to forget about what I believe in.
Yeah.
So then you did open mics, then you started getting up, then you started seeing that there's like a possibility to make money and actually have a career in this. Because did you know that you wanted to be on stage always? And
yes, I thought it was theater. Because I did drama club for like 7 years of my life. And then I joined like a few theater classes in Montclair and I'm like, oh, I suck. Theater is really hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do well in theater. I can't sing. I can't dance. Like I could barely, I'm like, this is, and I didn't want to stage direct or do anything like that. So then I kind of just leaned into more of a production role and then it morphed into comedy. But I always knew I wanted to be talent. I was just trying to find my groove. I think I'm still trying to find my groove, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully. I think that's what any like good performer or artist is always trying to like find themselves somehow, I think. Do you do comedy in Arabic?
I do a little bit. I've done a bunch of shows in the Middle East. I did the first all-female Middle East tour.
Wow.
I did it in May, I think. We went to Bahrain, Kuwait, Dubai.
How was that?
So much fun. It was me, Melinda Hill, and Takara Williams, LA Comics. We were supposed to do Saudi Arabia. We were going to be the first women to ever do comedy there. And then last minute, the venue didn't sign everything and the show got canceled.
Oh, wow.
But we were this close to making history.
So who was in the audience? Was it men and women or just women?
Yeah, it was mixed.
Oh, it was mixed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of them, it was a lot of people who speak English, so they understood. I do like tags in Arabic and like liners, but I don't do like full sets. It's hard to be funny in Arabic.
Is it? Why?
It's a very like proper language. It's like being funny and like Shakespearean. Like
it's like very poetic.
Yeah, it's a hard language. So to find the humor it's very hard. So I was like, I'm not even gonna try. But I'll say certain things in Arabic that are funny, like phrases and whatnot. So I did a few Arab drops here and there.
I love that, Arab drops.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I find it very hard to be funny in German as well because of the structure of the language. Like the verb comes at the end of the sentence, and just because it's like more a heady language, and like longer and more complicated the way that, thoughts are expressed.
Yeah.
Like English is so quick and like all these double meanings. And I don't know if sarcasm is a thing in Arabic, but like in German, it's not really a thing.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy to be. I feel like if you grew up there,
Right.
it would be completely different. Because just because you speak the language doesn't mean you could be funny in that language.
Totally.
You got to live there.
And also, I'm sure that the different countries have their own different like
dialects
and little
they have
inside
their own
jokes or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's so
phrases.
complicated. I mean, we were hitting each country for a few days, and just going from country to country was life-changing differences of like.
Of course, yeah.
Like we went to Kuwait. Kuwait, it's illegal to drink.
Yeah,
like it's illegal to.
I've been there.
How was it?
It was wild. It was wild. I couldn't believe it.
You like no alcohol, no drug.
Yeah.
Like you will go to prison.
Yep.
And then we flew out the next morning. We went to Dubai, and we were going crazy. Like it's just complete. It's day and night. It's hard to have like a structure of like comedy that's going to work for all these kind of people.
Yeah. But so being one of the first, you say it was the first female.
It was the first all-female comedy tour of the Middle East.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was
that
with the
must
Hollywood
feel amazing.
pop-up. Yeah.
That's so cool. That must have made your parents super proud, right?
Yeah.
Have they seen your comedy?
Yes. My parents come to my show sometimes. I'm headlining Caroline's in August, so they're definitely going to be there. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Does that change your set?
No, I don't give a fuck. It's awkward, though. If I'm like, I just took a Plan B pill last night. Like, and my parents are just like, and I'm like, it's just a joke. And then I'm like, all my jokes are based off of true stories. No, my parents are very weird. They have their phases. They have their phases where they're proud and they're happy that I'm doing what I love and they're happy that I'm happy. But then I feel like sometimes if they go to like a family event or like a wedding and I'm not there because Nina's on the road, or Nina's not there because I'm kind of the cousin that doesn't show up anymore.
Right.
Or I'm very like, I'll pop in, pop out, and my cousins will be like, thanks for joining us, peasants. Sorry, we're not Dave Chappelle. I'm like, shut up.
Okay.
So like even when I was on tour, was one of my cousin's wedding, I didn't go. And then like a few months ago, I had a spot that was like I really wanted to do. So I dipped out of the wedding like halfway. My mom was texting me, where did you go? And I'm like, I left. Like, I have a spot tonight. Like, so that's when she's like, this is ridiculous. Like, get a job. But then it's like when I achieve something big, my parents are like, oh, look at my daughter, blah, blah, blah. So it's very situational.
Right.
Failure is not an option because that's the only way my parents are going to be like, you're cool. So.
Well, but then also it depends on how you define failure. Everybody defines that differently.
For sure.
Or success, for that matter. So how would you define success? Having your own show or just having a special out on Netflix, or what would be success for you?
Success in comedy.
I mean, not that you're not successful now, but what would be like your like big dream or big goal to achieve? Success
in comedy for me would be financial freedom. I'm not saying I want to be a millionaire, but I don't want to have to worry about, fuck, I need X amount of money this month for my bills. Let me try to scrape what shows I'm doing this week. Like, to be doing comedy enough and well enough where like I could go to a theater and sell out. Yeah. And I'm like chilling. Like I can't like, even for Caroline's, I'm kind of nervous about ticket sales and whatnot. I'm like, I'm inviting like middle school friends and shit. Like, I want to be able to be like, oh, I'm doing Caroline's, it's going to sell out. Right. I think that's like, I'll be like, I'll feel successful. Yeah. And it takes a long time to get there.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, so. For sure. No, for sure. I mean, I think I've done the Edinburgh Festival like 4 times, and a big thing there is flyering. And that is like one of the worst experiences ever. I've waited tables. I've worked so many shitty jobs, but flyering for your own show for a month straight, every day in Scotland in August, when it like rains every day and you're standing there. Oh my God. And so I hear you 100%, just like not having to worry about who shows up to the show and knowing it's going to sell out. Yeah. Then I'm chilling for sure. Then it's like I'm good. I'm successful, whether or not I have a show or I'm on a fucking billboard. But if I don't have to worry about ticket sales for a show, For sure.
Like,
yeah, it's a hustle.
I'm featuring for Damon Wayans on Friday at Caroline's, and it's so liberating knowing the crowd's gonna be full.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to worry about anyone, like, no tickets, nothing. I'm just gonna pop up and it's a full house. It's like it's like the greatest feeling ever. And then I'm like, oh fuck, for August 25th, I'm like, I'm gonna be barking outside of Caroline's all month by myself, like just handing out flyers all alone. Like, please come to my show. I'm gonna email like women's movement groups and it's like, hey, do you want a Thursday night office party? Like, I'm gonna pull out all the old school.
You know,
tricks.
it's bad when you email people that you don't, or you're like, I really don't want to speak to you, but. I'd be fine if you came to my show.
I was telling a friend I haven't been on Facebook in years, but I'm going to go on and I'm going to mass message every single one of my friends, which is 5,000 because I'm at the cap.
Yeah.
Do they live in America? Do they live in New York? Everyone is getting that. I know there's a way to mass email. I'm like, I'm emailing 5,000. I mean, I'm messaging 5,000 people. I don't care. And people are going to be like, I live in the Middle East, but you're invited.
Come,
just in case.
Take a fucking plane. What's wrong with you? COVID's over. So you did a show on the West Bank, you said?
Yeah, we did. We went to Palestine a few summers ago, and we did like 10 shows, I think, or like 8 shows, and they all sold out. It was wild.
Wow.
We did shows in Bethlehem, Ramallah, Jerusalem. And it was a lot of fun.
And so it was in English?
Yeah.
And
that's where I met Tehran.
What kind of comics were on the lineup? Was it Muslim and Jewish comics, or was it?
It was mostly Arab.
Okay.
Or like Tehran, which he's a little bit of everything.
Right, he is. Yeah, he is.
But it was mainly Arabs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was mostly then Palestinians coming to see the shows.
Yes.
Okay.
There was a lot of tourists, especially the Jerusalem show, because Jerusalem is the hub for all 3 Abrahamic religions.
Yeah.
But definitely in the other areas was mostly Arabs. And they were such fun crowds because comedy there is not, it's not like, it's rare. It's not like it is in America or the New York or LA. Like, so a lot of those people were like, this is my first comedy show.
Yeah, and they're so appreciative.
And they're so happy and they just love everything. And I'm like, oh, this is great that you come to America and you bomb.
Yeah, you're like, I'm the greatest.
I was like, I just went from being a 10 in Palestine to being a mediocre 3 in LA. But it's a lot of fun because they have such a good time.
Right.
It's just great vibes.
Do you do comedy about being Palestinian? Do you do comedy about like your thoughts on what's happening there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So when I was in the Middle East, most of my comedy is like about being Arab in America,
right?
And how Americans are like, and then it's like my comedy in America is how being Arab in America, but how they perceive me. Like, so people are curious in other countries. They're like, you wear a hijab and you work in an office. Like, how is that? And I'm like, it's pretty cool, you know. Like, so I also like do a lot of political stuff for the crowd. And
that you mean is more like crowd work, not like
it's more like it'll only be funny in Bahrain. It's not going to be funny anywhere else.
I love that you're like, trust me, this is not funny anywhere but Bahrain. All right, what's funny only in Bahrain?
Like because we had went out with one of the princes for like dinner the night before, and I made a lot of like jokes about like if he wants a third wife, I'm down. Like they're like multi-millionaires,
and you're
they're
allowed
the royal
to do
family.
You're allowed to crack jokes about them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the only place that was like super strict about no jokes about their government is Dubai.
Right.
They don't like you making fun of their government and stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of tried to a little lighter.
Because there was a story, I don't know if you saw this, in Malaysia. They have such strict laws about making fun of the religion. And this open micer in this comedy club went up, and I guess this is a little extreme. She was wearing well, I guess what is it called? Dishdaya?
Like a burqa?
A burqa, yeah. And then she like took it off and it was like wearing a bikini underneath. And she was like, I'm gonna strip something. And it was an open mic.
Wow.
And somebody filmed it and it went viral, and the government shut the comedy club down.
Damn.
Like it's like closed. Like they're not allowed to be open and operate anymore. And everybody's like, what the fuck? It's not the comedy club's fault. It was an open mic. Like,
yeah.
nobody knew what this woman was going to do.
That's what I was saying about how it's so drastically different from
But I
country
guess that
to
would be
country.
different if you did something like
Yeah.
that. I'm sure they wouldn't have been cool with that.
No. There's some areas that have a lot more freedom to joke around and curse and whatnot, and then there's some places where you're like, no, don't do that.
Do you ever, because at the risk of sounding like super like sort of culturally deaf or something, when I was in Turkey, right, there was a lot of Saudi Arabians at the hotel that I was staying at, and I didn't know this. I didn't know that a lot of the times the Saudi Arabian men will sit at a table, and the women, I guess because it was a public place or something, they had to sit at a separate table and with their and turn their faces away from people and like eat facing the wall. And I asked somebody and they were like, yeah, that's that, they have to do that. And it made me so angry.
Yeah, that makes me upset too.
It makes you upset too,
Very
right?
much so.
And then I have a friend who's like, but you can't be angry about that. That's like you coming in and, you know, imposing your culture. And I'm like, but I'm not imposing my culture. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, you know, have their culture, but isn't that oppression?
Yeah.
So as a woman on tour, doing comedy, living in a place where you have, well, for now, all the freedoms, how does that, like, what do you think about that? Or how does that make you feel? Or like, what do you think about that?
It bothers me a lot. It bothers me because places like Saudi Arabia, which is like the most extreme forms of like oppressing like women and whatnot, that somehow trickles down and it just paints the entire Middle East like that.
Right.
Because the people are just, they focus on the extremes. So then it's like, when I go to Palestine, my cousins don't wear the hijab. And I'm the one that's like the more religious one from them.
Right.
And it's like, there are some women who do wear the burqa. Like, it makes everyone just look bad.
Right.
Like, they're ruining it for the whole Middle East.
Yeah.
And I get it, and I get that's what they're used to, but they also need to like get with the 21st century kind of thing. I mean, it's a little more lax now. Like, women could drive. Like, it's not like it used to be, but it still needs to like
change.
Yeah, just like tread like just be easy.
But I feel like having the fact that you were on tour as Arab women in the Middle East and you almost had a show in Saudi Arabia maybe means that is like inching towards that, right?
They are inching towards it, especially because they have like all those Jeddah festivals now. They had invited Nicki Minaj, but she declined to go because she's like, I support women's rights. So like they are trying to like be more modern, but it's like just giving Nicki Minaj $5 million to come do a show is not changing like the culture. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, it's not doing anything. You really need to just like, it used to be you had to wear a hijab by law. Now you don't have to. So there's a lot. No. But it's still like a lot of modesty rules where it's like, if a woman doesn't want to be modest, she shouldn't have to be. Yeah. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. But then there's also...
And if we want to be modest one day, we want to be modest one day and not modest the next day.
But it's also like the flip side of it, because like I've gone to public pools or things like that, and they'll be like, or like water parks, and it'll be like, you can't get in if you're not wearing a bikini. And I'm just like...
Here?
Yeah.
What?
It was a public pool in Jersey. It was like... but I was wearing like the dry fit material anyway, like the really like tight shirt and pants. And they're like, oh, no, you have to swimsuit only.
What?
And it became like a huge thing. And we like made a scene. They ended up like letting us in. And I'm like, just like I'm not forcing you to cover up, you shouldn't force me to wear a bikini. Like, it goes both ways, you know?
Wow, that's crazy. Really?
And then like in France, you can't wear a hijab in school. Like it's... Yeah. It needs to be both ways.
No, I agree with that.
It's like, I think everyone should just let everyone do whatever they want within reason.
Yeah.
Like, everyone needs to stop trying to police everyone, and especially women, because it's usually always women that have to deal with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both ways.
Yeah.
Like, even like in high school, like a girl couldn't wear a tank top. Like, let the bitch wear a tank top.
Yeah, I was pulled into the principal's office in high school because of my attire. And I remember she asked me if I was wearing a bra, which nowadays you'd be like, you're fired. And she sent me home.
That's insane.
To change. And she said I was distracting the boys.
Leave women alone all across the globe.
Exactly.
I should
Let
make
me
a
try
shirt.
to make
That's a
my
t-shirt.
money at school. Yeah, seriously. But
That's literally a t-shirt.
And the funny thing was, to me, she was Indian, so she wore a sari. And I was like, and she's like, you can't show that much skin. I'm like, but you're showing skin. Because like, I wear a little
like
crop
a belly.
top. She's like, but this is my culture. This is because.
I feel like in America,
like,
being a hoe is a part of the culture.
Exactly. All right. Well, wow. I could talk to you for hours. I always love like proverbs and sayings. I think I wrote you in the email. Do you have one that you love? Otherwise, I found two that they said are like Palestinian sayings.
Okay.
One is, one thumb alone does not kill a louse.
I'm trying to think of what it is in Arabic.
I'm trying to think what that means. That you need
no
that
idea.
You shouldn't get rid of your other thumb.
What's the second one?
The second one is, we came out of the carnival. Sorry. We came out of the carnival without chickpeas. One arm in front, one arm behind.
So here's the thing. There's a lot of Arabic words that there's no English
translation
word. So they'll find whatever is the closest to it, and
Right.
you usually doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah, this is obviously a literal translation. But chickpeas does make sense. You said you would put hummus in your immigrant jam.
But that's what I'm saying. It's I feel like maybe some of the other words are not the real translation.
Right.
It's just something like that. And then
Right.
that's why I'm like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, but they sound interesting. I wonder what, we came out of the carnival without chickpeas, one arm in front, one arm behind. I don't know. Maybe that means like we went to a fun place, but we didn't get what we were supposed to get, which we're supposed to get chickpeas, and now we're fucked. I don't know.
Probably, but I don't have like a whole phrase, but I do have a word.
Okay.
Mashallah.
Mashallah.
It's just something you say when you like give somebody a compliment or you say something nice, because we are big believers in like evil eye and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's also like, hey, I love that for you, but I'm not a hater. Mashallah.
Right.
You know, like, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
cool.
like good vibes.
Yeah, I love that. Mashallah. Okay, I have a little quick questionnaire that I do with everybody at the end of the podcast. There's no wrong answers, whatever comes to mind. This is the ultimate immigrant poll questionnaire.
Okay.
Nina, are you ready for it?
Yes.
Okay. In a movie about the Statue of Liberty, who would you cast as the Statue of Liberty?
Rihanna.
Nice. If you could deport one American person, who would you deport?
One American person. Michael Rappaport.
Oh, shit. You are the second person to say that.
Stop.
No,
that is hilarious.
The second person to say that. Okay. Do you want to say why? You don't have to.
Because he's an asshole.
Okay, there you go. We'll take that, fucking Michael Rappaport, and she'll knock you out too if you come after her. All right. You had it coming, Michael. If you could add one face to Mount Rushmore, whose face would you add?
Britney Spears. She's my president.
All right, cool. I love it. What is the most American thing you've ever done?
The most American thing I've ever done. Ooh, there's so many.
Okay.
The most American thing I've ever done.
Or the most American thing you did today or this week?
Am I going to go to jail if I make a confession?
No.
I feel like I'm going to go to
Unless
prison.
your sister listens to this podcast.
Let's just say I was going to the Middle East and my passport was expiring. So I bended the truth a little bit to get an expedited passport.
Oh, okay.
I feel like fucking with the system is very American.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess having the luxury of fucking with the system is
Yes.
American. That's true. What else? What American food would you ban if you were president of the United States of America?
What food would I ban? American food? Meatloaf.
Meatloaf. I agree.
Never
I've never
had it.
I've never had it either.
Don't know what it is. It sounds disgusting.
I'm not sure what it is either.
Yeah.
Is it ground up meat?
I don't know.
What is it?
It's amazing.
The white guy says it's amazing. I love it. Point in case.
Meatloaf. I
don't know
agree.
what it is though.
I've never even
Maybe
been
I'll love
offered
it.
meatloaf. I've never been offered meatloaf.
No,
you?
me neither.
No one's ever offered me meatloaf.
Hamburger. It's just a big hamburger.
So it's like a bread-shaped hamburger?
It's nothing complicated.
Oh, just have a burger.
Yeah. Yeah. Also the sound meatloaf. And then I always picture the guy too.
I always picture just like something like full of meat and like just not
Sexy.
I don't know. Yeah. It's not a sexy food.
It's not a sexy food. He wasn't a sexy guy. Rest in peace. Meatloaf. Okay. Well, that leads us to our final question of the day, the most important question of all time. Nina, do you know how I can meet David Hasselhoff?
Yes.
Okay.
Does he have social media?
Yes, he does. So you're not the first person.
So
you think I should just reach out?
No, because he probably doesn't run his own social media. He's David Hasselhoff. Probably doesn't even know how. Definitely has some 18-year-old interns doing it for him.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to his Instagram.
Okay.
Go through the people that he follows.
Okay.
Try to see how we could contact them or who they are.
Wow.
And then go through there.
Oh, wow.
You got to find a link, a common link.
Contact someone that he follows and be like, yo.
Depending on who the person is.
Can you hook it up?
Let's say he follows a barbershop. He probably cuts his hair there.
Oh, I thought you meant like the barbershop comedy people.
No, like if he follows like a spa place, he probably goes to that, things that like find a link between him and another thing.
Hello, are you David Hasselhoff's manicurist?
No, but you gotta like do the like snooping to like find out who these people are.
I love
and then
it.
just find the link, and then you could go get to him through the link.
Okay. All right. I think that's the best answer I've had so far for that
you.
question. Nina, you are headlining Caroline's on August 25th.
Yes, I am.
Please.
My first time headlining in New York.
Yes, that's fucking awesome. Get tickets to go see
tickets.
Nina. Where can people find you on the social media?
I'm usually only on Instagram and TikTok at Nina Kharoufeh. I'm sure you'll write You'll write it in the bio somewhere. And the link to buy tickets for my Caroline's show is in my Instagram bio. So please buy tickets.
Buy tickets, go see her, follow her, subscribe to everything she does. Nina, this was amazing.
Yes.
Mashallah.
Thank you. I love that.
Did I use that right?
Yes.
Thank you for being here. And thank you for listening. And thank you to the great Mike Albanese for being the puppet master. The meatloaf master. And I have to give a big fat shout out to one of our patrons, Douchebag Steve.
Hey, Douchebag Steve.
Hey, Douchebag Steve. We love you. Thank you for being the most awesomest. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, like, rate, review, tell your friends, tell your enemies. See you next time.
If you liked what you just heard, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, recommend to all your friends. And if you hated it, recommend it to your enemies. Thank you for listening to Immigrant Jam, the podcast with me, Lucie Pohl. Have a delicious and nutritious day.